Good morning and welcome to this WIOA Wednesday webinar. My name is Kirsten Sheary with the Illinois Center for Specialized Professional Support at Illinois State University. I will be the moderator for today's webinar. Today's topic is WIOA Innovations Career Pathways Navigator. As a reminder, all participants on this call are in listen-only mode. If you have questions as the webinar proceeds, please post your question in the chat box. This might also be labeled the question box or the comment box, depending on whether you are accessing this webinar through your tablet, phone, or computer, but all of those boxes are synonymous. So if you have a question, just please type it in the question, comment, or chat box, and we will answer those at the end of the presentation with our presenter. Another reminder that this webinar will be recorded. The presentation recording and handout materials presented during today's meeting will be available on the icsps.illinoisstate.edu website and also on the Illinois WorkNet website within 48 hours. Tomorrow, each attendee will receive a follow-up email, which will include a survey asking you about today's webinar. Please provide us with feedback and any suggestions that you have to help improve upcoming webinars. Another reminder that if you have faulty internet connection or you would prefer to call in, you can do so by calling into this webinar via your phone. And I will place that phone number in the chat box to everyone, but it is also in your initial registration email as well. So with that, we will go ahead and get started. I'm going to introduce myself. My name is Kirsten Sheary with ICSPS. And then we have our presenters today, Robert Guzman, and his executive director will be joining him later on, Becky Raymond. We are going to do a couple initial polls today. So I will go ahead and put those up. But first, we just want to know, where is your local area for our attendees? So I'm going to go ahead and launch that poll. And I'll give everyone a couple seconds to answer it. Okay. It looks like we have about 46% of our attendees today from Chicago, 14% from Northern Illinois, 14% from Central Illinois, 21% from Southern, and then some from statewide as well. And then just one more poll before we get started with our presenter. We would like to know which partner do you best represent? We apologize for the limited available options. Our polling only lets us do 5 options, but if you could pick the best one, and if you'd like to be more specific, you can go ahead and type that in the chat box. We always like to know where our constituents, our attendees from these webinars are, what partner they're coming from. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and close the poll and share our results. So it looks like we have a good mix today, a lot from Title I, 12% from Title II, and a big chunk from other WIOA partners as well. So welcome to everyone, and I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to our presenter for today, Robert Guzman. Robert?
Oh, good morning. Yeah, good morning. Was there a previous slide to this?
I don't believe so.
Okay, there was, but that's fine. So good morning, everyone. On behalf of the Chicago Citywide Literacy Coalition, I'd like to invite you to WIOA Innovations, Career Navigator. My name is Robert Guzman. I'm the Career Navigator currently for 14 adult WIOA Title Adult Education programs. I represent them at the Near West American Job Center. Next slide. Oh, good morning. Is the next slide?
Oh, I apologize.
Oh, here we, okay, yeah. Oh, yeah, if you want to go back to that one, that's fine. I just want to let everyone know if they want to follow us on the Twitter and Facebook throughout this presentation. Our information is on there. All right, here we go. That's fine. Thank you. The Chicago Citywide Literacy Coalition helps Chicago's adult education organizations secure resources and training so that underserved adult learners can become economically successful, and reframes adult basic education as a critical public policy issue. What we do, we have our Illinois Digital Learning Lab currently, our health literacy program, our advocacy department, and I have the honor to work in the career pathways department. If you want to learn more, the Chicago Citywide Literacy.org link is there. Hopefully you could check us out. Next slide. A little history about the Career Navigator. In 2016, work began on how all 13 organizations, WIOA Title II, would be connected to the Near West American Job Center, which is a comprehensive one-stop, and in compliance with the new WIOA implementation law requiring WIOA Title II to integrate with Title I or Workforce Title III, Wagner Pizer, and Title IV, the Division of Rehabilitative Services. CCLC and these 13 entrepreneur WIOA Title II adult education providers decided to collaborate and staff a Career Navigator at the Near West American Job Center to represent their services by utilizing 2.5% of what each program was awarded in federal basic. So they got together and pretty much divided the cost of housing a Career Navigator at the Near West American Job Center. In February 2018, CCLC interviewed, hired, and began managing the Career Pathways Navigator model. That's me. A little bit of background about me. I have a bachelor's in criminal justice. I spent more than 4 years in WIOA Title I as a workforce youth career coach, job developer / in Cook County, South Suburban at Ann Martha's. During transition from the WIOA to WIOA and IDRS system to Career Connect, so I entered the WIOA community at a very unique time. I was familiar. I was very familiar when I got hired with the WIOA eligibility registration process and all the WIOA training providers in Cook County. I'm fluent in Spanish, and I had a lot of experience serving and registering individuals in WIOA, specifically DACA recipients, youth, returning citizens. So I was very comfortable going into this position already with knowledge, very good knowledge of WIOA and the process. Next slide. So these are the 13 WIOA Title II adult ed providers, entrepreneurs that decided to, approach the WIOA implementation with the Career Navigator model. If you want to learn more about them, we've set up a Career Pathways page where you'd be able to have access through the links directly to the providers. Also, we uploaded a Career Pathways toolkit, which contains all the updated adult education programs and Career Pathways programs that exist. So next slide. One of the things that we decided to do was when I first started, is they hosted a meet and greet for me, so then I could meet the deans, the adult education managers, the transition specialists, and the staff at these organizations. So I began my journey as a career navigator completing site visits. I learned that they were all very close to the Near West American Job Center. I walked to Instituto from the Near West American Job Center just to see how far it was. It was about a mile. I learned that they provide free citizenship classes in English and Spanish on different schedules, as well as classes in English from level 1 to 4. So not knowing any English to knowing some conversational English. So that was great. So I was able to document that. Next slide. And then I took the pink line from the American Job Center to one of our members, Putak Center. There I met with the transition specialist who informed me that they had over 1,000 ESL students and about maybe 60 to 70 students at a time that were at the highest level of ESL and needed a transition into a GED, workforce, or WIOA. So and that was great. Actually, shout out to Putak Center. They've actually developed during COVID-19 a unemployment hotline for their community, and I just saw that they were able to assist almost 500 of their students with completing the unemployment application. So shout out to them. And the reason I did this is because the American Job Center is so close to Chinatown that so many individuals go in there with barriers, to be able to communicate and complete for unemployment, SNAP, TANF, and other supportive services. Next slide. I had to take a train and a bus to get to City College of Chicago, where I met with the dean. Shout out to Dean Dina for touring me and providing all the information that I needed to be able to provide adult education services offered at Daly College at the Near West American Job Center. There, they took me on a tour, and I was very impressed on how they were able to integrate adult education with a manufacturing bridge program and transition students into WIOA approved training certifications. So that was awesome. I also learned that City Colleges goes by a semester schedule, where some of our other partners are walk-in friendly, or they have cohorts, as you will learn. Next slide. I never knew how close Malcolm X was to the Near West American Job Center until I did my site visit, and I hopped on the Pink Line and was there like in 12 minutes. So I like to take public transportation, because then I know that I refer adults and clients, I could kind of see what their commute is going to be like, and I could refer them to the most appropriate program by their zip code and their transportation needs. There, I loved it. I was able to meet with the staff. I was able to interview students. They let me know about how they're, completing adult education and ESL and getting their GED, but at the same time, they're learning medical terminology. So, and kind of healthcare math, curriculum. So I was very impressed with the integration of the healthcare career. Now more than ever, we need it. So it's great to hear that they'll be offering adult education services this summer. Next slide. And then I was I love this because I was able to sit in a digital literacy class that integrated our good friends at Literacy Chicago did a wonderful job of integrating basic, intermediate, and advanced digital literacy curriculum with workforce training. And these are offered all throughout the year. They're completely free. Anything I mentioned today is completely free. It's funded by WIOA Title II, and so they're a core partner, just like all the other titles. Literacy Chicago, actually, I just got a text that they're going to have summer virtual digital literacy. So I want to send a shout out to all our partners for transitioning during this crisis into virtual platforms and not missing a beat. We really appreciate it. And next slide. Oh, and then, yeah, so the good people at Safer Foundation, I actually parked my car in 26th Street and I walked over and into the Cook County Jail to meet the Safer Foundation staff, which runs an adult education program in Cook County Jail, which was wonderful to see how individuals are gaining literacy and numeracy skills and utilizing their time while they're in Cook County Jail. And then I was even more impressed on how they were able to transition them as they return to the community into background-friendly, high-demand industries. So very impressive. If all these programs are in the Career Pathways toolkit on our website. Shout out to the Safer Foundation for all the grads and the success that they are having. Next slide, please. So as you can see, I quickly saw a pattern the first month that I was a Career Navigator that all the adult education programs seem to be integrating with a specific sector. Greater Westtown Training Partnership has a 6-week shipping and receiving program and a 15-week woodworking program. And I also noticed that at every one of these programs, and you guys will agree in WIOA, you need a particular literacy and numeracy gain. So that was something that I documented that for specific, like say for instance for IT, you have to be at an 8 literacy numeracy level. For CDL, maybe 6th grade, so on. It's manufacturing. But for the shipping and receiving program, I noticed that a lot of individuals that had that 5th and 6th grade literacy and numeracy were able to actually complete the program and get gained. I think this is just awesome how they're innovative in this. So that was something I picked up on really fast. Next slide. And this is not only in with GED programs. Our friends at Poder, they actually integrated Spanish language, English as a second language curriculum into the customer service, financing, and banking and insurance industry. So it allows them to then be taking English course, learning English at the same time receiving training and being able to enter the workforce by improving their training. So next slide. And shout out to Poder for going virtual and continuing to assist our Southside community. So after 13 site visits, the Career Pathways Department was established. I didn't have any business cards at the time. I was just a model. But so I was able to make a flyer just to distribute among the American Job Center clients and the community. Next. I can't see the note, but I think I have a note under the flyer, but that's fine. Next slide, please. Let me see. So this is the Near West American Job Center. So one of the first things that I what I did was I met with the director of the American Job Center. We had a meeting. She provided my access key to the Career Pathways Department, which is my cubicle. She went over the service summary chart to let me know what supportive services are offered and who is in the building with me. We went over the internal referral system, and she invited me to the first partner meeting. They're called Quality Control, Quality Improvement. Next slide. So I just want to make sure that everyone knows that the 13 adult education programs that surround the Near West American Job Center that I represent, they're not too far. I believe the farthest one is maybe 2.5 miles or something. So the most 4. Next slide. Yeah, so this is the summary chart that the director provided for me. It lists all the partners that I began to be integrated with. I utilized, actually, after meeting with all these partners and receiving the supportive services and the details of what they offer, I began to distribute some of this information into the adult education community through connecting with the transition specialists, adult managers, deans. So the Career Navigator position kind of became an extension of the Near West American Job Center and partners, because I'm going to go ahead and give some examples. So say, for instance, WIOA orientations are on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. And at the time that I was hired, individuals and currently in adult ed began to graduate and obtain their GED. So I was able to transition them into WIOA orientations as they came. And it was great because they had just tested for GED. So their literacy and numeracy skills were up. They had copies of them, their documentation. They were ready to transition into a workforce, and vice versa. The WIOA Title I, shout out to National ABLE Network for inviting me to the WIOA orientations, where I would speak about adult education services available. I was able to quickly identify individuals that didn't have a GED or just needed a little bit of literacy and numeracy gains, or they wanted to learn computers and digital literacy. And a lot of I encountered a lot of people that just did not know any English, or they couldn't fill out the application. So then we were able to kind of create a safety net, and that's how Title I and Title II began to integrate at the beginning, which is great. I met with employment specialists and staff from the Illinois Department of Employment Security. We discussed, upcoming hiring events that they were having for unemployment beneficiaries. And of course, they opened it up to the adult education students, which was great, because the number one barrier that I've encountered for adult education students is employment. That affects their retention. I became really good integrated with the Department of Human Services, the Division of Rehabilitative Services, our legal services, veteran services, our senior community service employment program. Shout out to Easter Seals and everyone at the Near West American Job Center. So the integration was just trying to figure out what their clients needed, if they needed to improve their English, if they needed digital literacy, if they just wanted to explore different career pathways. The Career Pathways Department and 13 adult education programs were here to serve them. So that kind of was the services provided for adult education services. So next slide. I can't see the notes. I usually have notes at the bottom, but I can't see them, but it's fine. I'll share with them at the end. On the next slide, it's just going to continue the summary chart. Let me see. I just want to go ahead and just say some numbers real quick. So in in my first year, which was FY19, 260 adult education students received workshops. So 260 adult education students at FY19 from these 13 adult education programs attended the Near West American Job Center in WIOA orientation. They received SNAP benefits. They attended hiring events, workshops for LinkedIn. So the adult education students took advantage of the American Job Center supportive services. At the same time, next slide. At the same time, we were able to transition WIOA clients, IDS unemployment beneficiaries, SNAP recipients, TANF recipients, the Division of Rehabilitative Services clients into adult education. So that was 273 that I tracked, probably more. I mentioned that I started off my Career Navigator journey with doing site visits so I could retain information and be able to share it with these American Job Center partners. But at the end of FY19, I think I completed 117 site visits to the 13 adult education programs. The top purposes of these site visits were, again, to gather information about adult education services so I could share with the American Job Center, but to inform the current adult education students and staff about services, events, any changes at the Near West American Job Center. So next slide. So this is just a continuation. I just wanted to share, there's other partners that not are the core partners, but are like external partners that just kind of became integrated with WIOA Title II, including St. Anthony Hospital and, immigration communities, a lot of immigration, the consulate, local police departments, elected officials. So I just wanted to make sure that we know that this integration goes beyond WIOA. Next slide, please. So I began reaching out to a lot of the partners when I first came in, and one of my cheat sheets. Thank you to the director for creating this here and now. What's going on? Because I was able to see where everyone was, what was going on in the building, so then I could share with the adult education students community and CCLC members. So then this was great. So one of the benefits of having the Career Navigator was that I'm in the building, I'm in the third floor with all these partners, with all these activities, with all these workshops, and and as soon as that flyer was printed, I was right there. Shout out to Evelyn for always making sure I had copies of everything. It's nice to hear you're doing good. So the career orientations and all these activities, I just kind of became integrated, and I began integrating adult education students into this community, as well as transition specialists and everyone else that I came in contact with. So next slide. So then I continue to learn about how to integrate and collaborate with the Chicago Housing Authority as they're housed with us at the Illinois Department of Division of Rehabilitative Services. Shout out to my friend Biswa and Michael. Thank you so much for always running the Resource Center and providing a resume for everyone that walks in. So very quickly, I saw that everyone had a role in the Near West American Job Center, and I was able to just kind of transition adult education with the flow that already existed. Next slide. So one of the things about the American Job Center, and it was called the Unemployment Office when I arrived. It actually is transitioning. It transitioned these past couple years into the employment center, which was great because like I mentioned, what are the number one barriers for adult education students is employment. So whenever our friends at IDES would coordinate a hiring event and bring in a employer, I'd be able to share that with the adult education students and be able to assist them with registering ahead of time in Illinois JobLink, because you have to register for Illinois JobLink, and but I also was able to look at the job descriptions and kind of fit. So I kind of began catering job descriptions and job opportunities to adult education students, because we need the flexibility. We're either taking classes in the evening or classes in the Saturdays or in the morning, so we kind of need a little bit of flexibility. And so I really kept my ear, and shout out to all the job developers that I worked with in Title I. The National AVO had a monthly Workforce Wednesday every month from 1 to 3. They just bring in employers and let adult ed students and everyone else in. So it was excellent to kind of be able to assist with transitioning students into the workforce. Next slide, please. So this was the first quality control, one of the meetings that I had. As you know, we have representative, everyone looking good, shout out, from each of the core partners. And, at the American Job Centers here, we talk about updates. I let them know what programs are going on in adult education, who's registering, who's not, who's taking the summer off. So it was it's a very special room, because we're able to kind of flow information very fast, and then we all go to, of course, our agencies and organizations, and the information is triggered down. So I shout out to the director for managing these just so fluently. Next slide. Yeah, so one of the requests that I got from the quality control partners was, Robert, do you have orientations? Can I send you an individual that speaks Spanish? You should have your own orientation. So the Chicago Citywide Literacy Coalition did a great job in creating these brochures to distribute throughout the American Job Center, and they eventually kind of poured out into the community. So we were able to establish, going into the new year, monthly orientations in English and Spanish to provide adult education services and career pathway for walk-ins, and this made it easier for employment specialists, because all they would do is just give individuals a brochure. I'd have them sign in. So it was a good a kind of like referral step one process, and that's great. I mean, I sent this out electronically, and it was being distributed among all the DHS and IDS and the Division of Rehab. So thank you, shout out to everyone for really supporting and welcoming adult education into the Near West American Job Center. Next slide. Yeah, so the career pathways orientations in Spanish were a success. We were able to assist the Spanish-speaking adults with identifying appropriate adult education programs in their own language and in their own community. I would discuss different ESL programs, GED programs, digital literacy programs, also workforce certification programs. Being at the American Job Center, there was a lot of training providers, sharing their short-term stackable credentials in the healthcare and industries, and in the hospitality. So that was great. I did receive a lot of individuals that were interested in not only learning English but citizenship, which was great, because being at the American Job Center, I was able to see flows of different populations, seniors, returning citizens. One population that kind of popped out to me was individuals that had just became residents. They're were not previously residents, so now they could file for unemployment, obtain SNAP. I also, during these career pathways orientations, I would provide any updates or supportive services being offered at the American Job Center. Next slide. Oh yeah, I really remember this young lady because she I've been called this before, but she actually called me an adult education broker after a career pathways orientation in English. I think it's because I started doing like WIOA Career Navigator one-on-one consultations with youth, returning citizens, seniors, immigrants, adults with disabilities, to assist them with transitioning into an appropriate career pathway. So it was more one-on-one assessments, but I had so much information. I am in the I guess epicenter of WIOA integration. So that was very good. And we continue these monthly orientations all the way into unfortunately COVID-19. Next slide. After very, very quickly, I was able to actually directly integrate WIOA Title II partners into the American Job Centers to provide direct services in collaboration with staff and the director. We were able to reserve lobby time and information sessions, and this was great because we're so busy at the American Job Center that for us and for our core WIOA partners and employment specialists and case managers and career coaches to just, have individuals know, there's going to be someone, providing information about the healthcare industry and the shipping and receiving industry and the finance industry, and they worked out. So a shout out to all our partners that have done some lobby time and came down here and assisted our clients. So next slide. Actually, this having partners come in, it freed me up. It freed me up to do outreach events out in the community and begin to tap into some of the populations that might be seeking adult education services, WIOA services, or supportive services. So I kind of took the American Job Center and WIOA Title II on the road. As you can see, I have a lot of flyers because I have a lot of programs I represent, and some of our partners would ask me, Robert, where are you going? I'm going to an outreach event. Yeah, I made you some copies of our program. Don't worry about it. Put it in my bag. So that actually was successful because in FY19 I was able to complete 76 outreach events, and I think I reached almost over 2,300 participants. So it was a lot of sign-in sheets. So that was great. Next slide. I also started doing collaborations and outreach events with core partners throughout Chicago. So this would made me document and move into creating offsites throughout the Chicago, because there are deserts where there are no ESL programs, no GED programs. If there is, there seems to be something called the invisible gang lines that youth and adults are not willing to cross. So prior to COVID-19, we were able to collaborate with the Housing Opportunity with Women, and where National ABLE Network was able to create an offsite at one of their immigrant and refugee sites, as well as we had begun talk about actually having a GED program at this Southside Church on 103rd and Halsted, powerhouse. Shout out to Rena for, kind of supporting us on this project. So this is good. So this is something we could still do if for some reason you feel like you could provide adult education services at your community organization, at a facility. Let us know, because these 14 WIOA Title II partners are part of the area planning committee, which is open to the public. So if you're interested in attending, it's where WIOA Title II kind of issues and policies are discussed. So this was great. So to know that we have the capability to put an instructor, curriculum, teachers, material, tutors, volunteers in any part of Chicago and be supported by WIOA. Next slide. Yeah, I began to invite the adult education community to meet me at some of these outreach events with their students, with resumes and ready to network. I mean, I was already there. I was able to identify a lot of employers that can employ adult education students without them having to get away from their classes, which is needed for them to get into a career pathway. So this was a very a good cross point. It's almost if I started kind of adding business representative services to the Career Navigator position. So next slide. Yeah, soon enough. Say it with me. Adult education matters. I guess I started making so much noise. I started getting attention of some of the local elected officials. And don't worry, I had my WIOA elevators speech where I said we need a navigator in every American Job Center, in every city, in every county, in every state, and all over the United States. So shout out to the local aldermen and other elected officials who agree that we have a lot of work to do. So next slide. So you could add advocacy to my position. This is one of my favorite highlights. So I created because I figured if I'm not going to get another navigator, or the state's moving slow, the unified plan or WIOA authorization. So what I did, I started creating my own WIOA navigators. I developed the WIOA Navigator 101 at the American Job Center, where I bring and train AmeriCorps members on WIOA, on the service summary chart at the Midwest AJC, on all the adult ed programs and career pathways that are offered, as well as other supportive services. I then started doing Career Navigator 101s, where new career coaches to WIOA and that don't know what's going on, and new case managers, new employment specialists, new business representatives. I started getting probation officers and staff from the immigration and consulate, just kind of go in there and just to learn of what's going on at the American Job Center. So this was excellent. I invited. Next slide. Yeah, thank you. Because one of the benefits of having the Career Navigator 101s and the American Job Center is that I'm staffed with everyone. So I would invite all our partners to be guest speakers. In this photo, Job Corps is presenting on their program during a Career Navigator 101. Shout out to National Able, who'd come in and talk about WIOA and eligibility and the Jumpstart webinars and the employer stuff, and IDS will go in there and encourage everyone to sign up for Illinois Job Link and talk about some of the benefits that they have and how they could apply for the state jobs. So the majority of these individuals, AmeriCorps individuals, end up in the field of WIOA or adult education or working with us. So we might as well kind of start educating. There is no bachelor's for WIOA. I mean, I've been in WIOA for 4 or 5 years, and I learned everything in the field. So this was a great benefit to kind of be able to have all the partners in one building and be able to present. So next slide. And WIOA collaborations continue, even though we are in COVID-19. We were able to successfully, in the past 2 years, create an open house by Careers in WIOA where we all unified. And I think it was the 2018 Careers in WIOA, we had 386 participants. In 2019, I think we had about 460 participants. Over 30 employers. I mean, this is WIOA integration at its best. It's every title bringing in their clients and supporting each other's clients with no questions asked and just with the great customer service. Next slide. So we are having our partner meeting virtually. We are continuing adult education services virtually. We, shout out to everyone that will be providing services this summer. We did not miss a beat. We were able to sustain a great percentage of our current students, and now that we're moving into the summer. So all of this information is on the Career Pathways Kit at Chicago Citywide Literacy, what we do /career pathways. So yeah, feel free to reach out to our partners or me. Next slide, please. So this is one of the most proudest moments due to the success that we're having with the Pilsen American Job Center and the Career Navigator. CCLC was able to duplicate my model at the Mid-South American Job Center in collaboration with Southside Career Pathways Collaborative. So welcome, Kiona. This is a very exciting, Bevan, I'm getting teary, moment in adult education and WIOA integration. So I'm very, very proud, and we'll have you a very successful meet and greet once we get back. If you're more interested about the Mid-South American Job Center and the Career Navigator, just please email Kiona at ChicagoCityWideLiteracy.org. Next slide. Yeah, so one of the earliest barriers I encountered was the administrative. This was the referral form that American Job Center provided, and I would have to manually complete it, scan it, upload it, save it, attach it, email it, and then follow up. So I began to encounter some of these administrative tasks. So what I did is, next slide. I went ahead and I reached out to the Chicago Cook Workforce Partnership, which I had developed a relationship throughout my years in Title I. And I had helped them identify bugs when the system first came out. So Career Connect is the current tracking system that is utilized by WIOA Title I workforce providers to document WIOA business services, case management, and workforce engagement among job developers, job seekers, employers, and career coaches. So what I did is I let the partnership know what I was doing and how many Excel sheets and what was I trying to track on long term and so on and so forth. So they went ahead and then just provided me a pilot where instead of it being a job developer, it was a career navigator. And instead of working with employers, I worked with WIOA Title II adult ed providers. And instead of career coaches, it was transition specialists. And instead of job seekers, it was adult education students. So instead of job descriptions and job orders, it was adult ed programs, GED, ESL, so on and so forth. So CCLC collaborated with the partnership to develop a custom referral tracking system for WIOA Title II education providers. On Career Connect, the Career Navigator utilizes this system to track referrals between Title II and the American Job Center partners and the WIOA community. So up to right now, it's been very successful. Next slide. Prior to COVID-19, we were able to train the majority of our transition specialists and adult ed managers and, some of the staff on the new Career Connect training system, which was great. And I think less than half, but a good majority of our current 13, 14 partners already had access through Career Connect through the workforce part of it. So all we had to do was provide privilege for them to be able to access the CRM system. If you want to learn more, please, contact us. Actually, on June 30th, we're having a virtual Career Connect training. You might be able to attend as a participant or an attendee or a viewer. But it's very interesting. The partnership is going to roll out a lot of new details and more of a customer-based approach. So I'm very excited about that. Don't want to give too many details, but this is great. Thank you so much to the partnership for taking care of some of my administrative tasks and it's very innovative. We're putting innovative in WIOA Innovation and Opportunity Act. So next slide. I'd like to finish off with a Navigator Note. February 2020, I was awarded the National Skills Coalition Firebrand Bevan, I'm choking up. Award for my work on the front lines and advocacy for WIOA adult education and the workforce community. This was in a couple of months ago, like a month before COVID-19. I thank my executive director for being my #1 fan. I thank the Chicago WIOA community for work. And I let everyone know to not try to reinvent the wheel. We have the blueprint to integrate WIOA. Please contact us. I know there are my new friends from all over this United States now that are listening. And don't worry, this is a very replicable model, and I will continue to collaborate to bring career navigators through on the local, state, and federal level. So yeah, next slide. I think we are ready for Q&A. So I'd like to bring in my executive director in case you guys have any questions or answers that I might not be able to answer. So next slide, I guess, final slide. The final slide has our contact information, our social media, and we created a COVID-19 resource. At this time, I'd like to just have you, I'd like to invite you to join me on this, movement that is going on now. So if we are waiving the membership for this upcoming year, so we could go ahead and open up our coalition to other stakeholders that might be able to assist us. So just email Kelly at ChicagoCityWideLiteracy.org, and we'll take the first question.
Okay, Robert. I had someone kind of make a comment. I'm not sure if you would like to address this, but it says public disability insurance claim work comp. No one in Illinois advises with a regulatory on prior work comp claim at that company. I'm not sure if that's
I guess that's just a comment. We could move on.
Okay.
Yeah, if you want to go ahead, and if anyone who gave that comment, they could just email me at robert@ChicagoCityWideLiteracy.org. I'd appreciate it.
Okay. It doesn't look like we have a whole lot of questions, just a lot of comments.
Kirsten,
Kirsten,
there's a couple of questions that I noted. Do you mind if I ask Robert a couple of them? There's been a lot of chatter, so I want to make sure that we get. So one, Rena asked, how do you know, Robert, how long is the healthcare program at Malcolm X?
Wow, I'd have to get back at you. But if on the flyer and the career pathways kit, yeah, Rena, I could connect you directly to the transition specialist, Krishan Young and Teresa Gia and the whole adult education department. So yes, I'll be happy. But if anyone is seeking adult education services, we've created a career pathways kit on our website, and I think I also shared the link with IC with the professional development people. But if not, I could go ahead and resend it. The only thing about that link that I noticed is that we put it on the website because when I emailed it to anyone that had an Illinois.gov email, it'll bounce it up or spam it or something like that. And thank you for the state members that made that aware to me.
All right, thanks. And then also, Jennifer asked, are there career navigators all over the state? If so, is there a list with their regions and contact information? Do you know that, Robert? Robert, I'm not hearing you, but I will mention that every adult education program across the state does have a career navigator. So they're not all as integrated into the AJC as Robert is, and we love Robert's model, but every adult education program across the state does have a career navigator. And speaking of the model that Robert talked about, there is a comment from Dina. She's the Career Connect administrator from the Chicago Cook Workforce Partnership, and she just wanted to say that the CCLC's Career Navigator work has been a model for coordinating services at the AJC, and they are looking how to expand on what they've done to help coordinate across all WIOA titles. So I wanted to mention that. And then there was one other question from Luis. It's, Robert, do you have any stats on the percentage of success in placing adults in jobs?
So that's the whole reason I decided to approach the Career Connect kind of a department, because my Excel sheet would only track who I referred, why I referred them, where I referred them to, what was the outcome, if they were placed, registered, or test, and then after that it just became very administrative to be able to continue tracking them 3 months, 6 months in. So yeah, so I think that's the next step. So thank you for your question. And Career Connect is the platform to do it, because you're able to track long term as they do in Title I, as well as input case notes, which is just wonderful. And eventually, I believe it's going to be connected to your email, so you'd be able to get a notification when you get a referral, or when you send a referral, that individual will get an email on the other side. So this is very exciting.
Great. And here's another question for you, Robert, from Candace. What has been your greatest challenge as you develop the Career Pathway Navigator program?
Oh man, duplicating myself, I guess. I've had the honor to present on the local, state, and national level. I've had an honor of presenting for CPS, CPD, TANF teams, SNAP teams, IDS workshops. I mean, Chicago Housing Authority, immigration. Now I'm talking with the Mexican consulate in Chicago. So yeah, I believe just I need an army.
And to that vein, Antonio wants to know, is there a shareable WIOA Career Navigator 101 training curriculum?
So when I created the Career Navigator 101, it was to kind of educate transition specialists and Title II about Title I, and how to, And so that's how they started off. But and they were in person. But I think we're looking into establishing kind of an institute, so they could know exactly what WIOA is about, what the law is, how their clients can benefit, how they can benefit themselves, because sometimes you want a career change or so on and so forth. So yes, just feel free to email me and I'll keep you in the loop about that, and I'll actually keep everyone in the loop if we decide to have some type of Career Navigator web workshop or something. So that's a great idea. A lot of things got disrupted because of COVID-19.
Well, yeah, you said it. That's for sure. Hey, so way down south near Shawnee Community College, which is the other end of the state from you, Robert, Jan wants to know, how can we get involved if we live 5 hours south of Chicago? She said she met you at IASA and got all fired up about this. How do we get a Career Navigator in every county or area? And so I will mention that there is somebody down in your area, Jan, through adult education. That person may not be as integrated as Robert is. So we love the model that Robert's sharing today. But Robert, do you have anything to add or speak to that?
Oh, Shawnee, yeah, that's Ginger's people down over there, huh? Okay.
There is,
yeah.
So Ginger has
did.
a Career Navigator there.
Yeah, so yeah, like I said, I've had an honor to present all over and kind of preach this model, and I think that's what the conversation, and you don't have to have 14. I think the most important part is that WIOA collaboration engagement between your local titles. I think that's what it is. I think I have such a tight relationship with these individuals that and the trust they have. I have so much trust at anyone at the American Job Center that they will be receiving 100% customer service, and vice versa. Adult education providers have this great kind of relationship building technique with the community. So yeah, that's something that we should kind of really look into. And like I said, I've been bothering my elected officials, from the local to the national level, and knocking on doors and making noise. So, hopefully if we all collaborate, we can move the needle a little bit more.
Thanks. And then also, let's see. Someone asked if an individual can be enrolled in both programs at the same time, WIOA Title I and WIOA Title II.
Yes, so that's actually the most efficient way to kind of provide those workforce and job placement services along. Like when I've not only attended WIOA orientations at the American Job Center, but other American Job Centers, a lot of WIOA Title I directors and programs, and shout out to them for, kind of just inviting me in and at the WIOA orientations, because in that moment you could let them know, hey, you're about to get tape tested in about 4 weeks while you're submitting your documentation. Why don't we transition you into adult education to make sure those scores are up? Or we notice you don't have a GED or sufficient English. So I highly, highly, highly advocate to register at the same time simultaneously in both titles, as well as everyone. I came from WIOA Title I, so when career coaches and everyone looks at their caseloads and identifies individuals that might need any of these services, feel free to reach out to us. Because then you could just go ahead and put a case note in, put a service in, referred client to GED program at local adult education program. Put that in your case note. We could go ahead and print out a schedule so you could put in their file. Same thing with all the SNAP recipients. Adult education services. Make them compliant with the new able-bodied law. I know it's suspended right now, but it was something that I was working on and making sure that every adult education student that was on SNAP or was able to provide their coach so they could go ahead, their SNAP case manager, so they could go ahead and put in, I think, a change of case or something like that. So yeah, so I'm learning. I've learned a lot throughout the years of how the other titles operate.
Right. And you know, Robert, you mentioned several times in your presentation about the service integration chart, and that is what you just described as service integration being applied, which is the best model for our students, or for, sorry, for our clients, those we serve. We all have different names for who we serve. In adult ed, we call them students. So that's a great model that we are giving them multiple service approaches at the same time. And you just mentioned the TABE test in your answer, but Warren wanted to know what type of tests were used for admissions. Can you talk about that as well?
Yeah, so I've noticed that WIOA Title I utilizes multiple tests. I mean, one of them is TABE. I know they do CASAs at other WIOA orientations, but just to make sure your TABE test scores is not a reason that you will not be registered in WIOA Title I and be able to access training vouchers and other job placement services. That's just to evaluate where your literacy and numeracy skills is. So it's not an eligibility, it's more of a suitability kind of approach. So I hope I answered the question.
Yes, yeah. So the CASAS, yeah, that was another one. And you mentioned TABE. And then also, how many of these citywide literacy programs are geared toward our Spanish-speaking youth? Rose wants to know.
Ask me that one more time. I want to be able to answer that.
How many of these citywide literacy programs are geared towards our Spanish-speaking youth?
Oh, I mean, me out of the 13, I think 7 of them provide ESL levels from 0 to 4 and GED in Spanish, and so we have a lot of them. And the Chicago Citywide Literacy Coalition, I think we represent 40 adult education providers throughout Chicago. So you feel free to contact us. But again, the Career Pathways Kit has information on Universidad Popular and Poder and city colleges. So so just check out our Career Pathways Kit. But that was a good question. But yeah, adult education has the capability of kind of transitioning a good amount. So if we have 600 people by 4th of July that are referred to adult education, we have the capability to provide services to them because we have them in a classroom environment. We have different levels. So we're prepared. That's what we do.
Great. And hey, Robert, I think this comment that came in is a good way to wrap up today. So Regina just gave a shout out that says she's seen in person what you spoke about at a partner meeting. And she says, you've mentioned this can be duplicated, but Regina wants to stress that as long as you have the passion, it will be duplicated, and that can make it even better. So I do want to, anybody who's met Robert knows his passion, and I do think that is a huge part of the success, is the passion that he's willing to do whatever it takes to serve the individuals that need his services. So let's see. Oh, hold on. There are a couple of other comments here at the end. A couple of thank yous for you, Robert. And then Norm wants to know, where did the client sharing platform come from? Was it purchased from a vendor?
Oh, say that question one more time. I didn't catch the last part.
Where did the client sharing platform come from? Was it purchased from a vendor?
Oh, are they talking about Career Connect, I guess?
I think yes, I believe so.
Oh, I think that's a Becky Raymond question. If she's on the line, I'd love for her to answer that, or if not, we could email her,
Robert,
Becky at Chicago.
You know what? So Becky is here. Thank you for being here, Becky. Unfortunately, she's on the other side and we couldn't pull her over. So so yes, and Norm says yes, Career Connect, and Becky says it came from Geo Solutions. So I would encourage you, Norm, or anybody else who wants more information, Becky's information is on the screen right now, and reach out to Becky at an email. And that's the vendor, though, that is Geo Solutions. Thank you, Becky, for being a problem solver and figuring out a way to communicate with us. We appreciate it. And
I shared, I believe I went ahead and I shared the upcoming Career Connect training flyer. I see it on the handouts. So if you want to go ahead and if anyone's more interested, they could reach out to Kelly at Chicago Citywide Literacy.org, or they could go ahead and just register, and we'll make sure that they might just be attending as a viewer, but at least they'll get a good glimpse of the Career Connect pilot that we're about to launch.
All right, and there is one other question from Warren. How did the recipients get hired? Was it through the job center or employer job fairs, especially from the jail?
Oh, yeah, that's a little bit of a broader question, but so the workforce services are provided by, our Title I partners, IDS, employment specialists, the Chicago Housing Authority. If you're a CHA resident, you get free employment services. So I think it's just an all-out hands-on right now with employment, and previously, and I think that was one of my favorite things, is that I'm always constantly surrounded by employers, and and shout out to all the job developers and career coaches for developing these relationships, and just it kind of just bringing me into the loop, and I bring adult education students and along with me. So yeah, but I know the Safer Foundation works closely with returning citizens specifically.
Okay. Thank you. And then Dina provides some more information on that vendor information. And then Becky has shared that Dina is actually the best person to contact regarding the Career Connect. So I'm going to put her name in so people know who Dina is. All right. Oh, thank you, Dina. She's providing her email, so I'm going to put that in the chat so that you all have it. And thank you for being a resource. Thank you, Robert, for you being a resource, and Dina and Becky and all of you. As Robert mentioned, there are models, and we don't want to start. Nobody should start with a blank screen, blank sheet of paper. They can replicate. Yeah, and Kirsten was saying that she could unmute you, Becky. Do you have anything else you want to share? If you do, let us know. We'll unmute you. Otherwise, are there any other questions that we have? A wealth of information. Thank you very much, Robert. We appreciate it. And again, thank you to Becky and to Dina, and for all the great work that you're doing there. Otherwise,
I'll go ahead and wrap it up, Sarah. Thank you, Robert, and thank you, Sarah and Becky, and everyone who's attended this webinar today. We hope you found this extremely beneficial. And Robert, there was a lot of good feedback and people giving you a lot of shout outs and saying that you're doing great work. So that's always great to hear, I'm sure, as someone in your position. So thank you everyone for attending today's webinar. As stated earlier, tomorrow, each attendee will receive a follow-up email, which will include a survey asking you about today's webinar. Please provide feedback and any comments, concerns, questions, or suggestions you have to help us improve our upcoming webinars. And then all of the handouts that are in the handout section today, as well as these PowerPoint slides and a video recording, will be up on our website and the Illinois WorkNet website within 48 hours. So if you need to reference any of these documents again, you will have access to those. And with that, thank you everyone for coming. Robert, did you have any final thoughts?
Don't forget the human part in the WIOA integration. The law is very complicated. Policy is just literacy in words. Please do not forget the human, the heart, soul, and spirit that exists in the WIOA community. So thank you very much for joining.
All right, thank you everyone. You have a great rest of your Wednesday.